Hello, you beautiful souls. Happy Friday. I am in such a great mood. I don't know if it's because it's the end of the week or um, because it stopped raining finally here in South Florida, or I don't know, hormones. Who knows? Who knows? But I'm in such a high vibe place, and so I wanted to hop on and do a quick video because a couple, 2 to 3 different clients recently mentioned to me something that I want to just clear up, something that has been their belief or their assumption about how I am or how I work, what I do to maintain myself as a clear channel, that it just made me laugh each and every time. You guys know that and if you're here, say hello because I do want to greet you. So I do quite a bit of coaching, which I love, and it's really not different from channeling in that it's every bit as much guided, divinely guided, and supported. I may not be closing my eyes and bringing forward a message as I do exactly when I'm in that channeling mode, but I am fully engaged. So coaching with me is sort of like it's being fully engaged in conversation. I am still listening behind the words that my client is saying and hearing guidance for them. So the guidance comes through from their higher self. It will inform me. Their own guides, their non-energetic or their non-physical energetic support system is what I am referring to when I say guides. Hey, Joanne. And so a few clients recently that I'm working with in a coaching capacity at different times, this has been over maybe the last month, but at different times, said to me as I am, so part of the coaching is I am encouraging my clients to find their channeling voice. Because the way that I channel is just my way. But I say this all the time, we are all channeling all the time in our own way. And it's my deepest desire to shine the light on that for the people that I work with and show them that they have their own flavor. So perfect, Joanne, that you're watching right now. I'm so glad you're here. They have their own flavor of channeling. And for me, channeling just means being present, readying myself for and becoming present to messages that can come through from other realms. So not just the physical three-dimensional world. We're talking about going deeper in that and hearing from the soul perspective sometimes, or hearing from spirit, you can call it, hearing from your own higher self, your own inner guidance, the voice of wisdom within you that each of us has, I promise you. So what I get really excited about is supporting my clients in their journey to explore their own channeling, and it's super fun because as they are exploring that and sharing some of their messages, I'm learning too. I'm learning along with them. They're getting some really fantastic, wonderful, insightful messages. So I think it's really fun to see all the different ways that we do channel and that we do show up to receive divinely inspired messages. So here's what has happened over the last little while, just with a few clients, but enough to inspire me to do this talk. These clients who do not know each other but said to me in different ways, well, we can't, or let's say each one said, I can't channel like you do because I could never, it's so much, you do so much work. There's so much that you do that I just could never do, or that I don't have the time to do, or that I'm not disciplined enough to do in order to become that level of a clear channel. And so I would ask, well, what exactly do you think I do? Well, what is this perspective that you have of me and what I am doing that you simply cannot work into your life or have an expectation around? And so today, one of my just sweet, delightful clients said, well, she said, I said, what's in your mind? What's your story about this? What do you imagine that I'm actually doing? She said, oh, well, I just think in my mind, like, well, there's the 3 hours of yoga. And she said, and then there's a daily hour-long meditation session. And then, then you're also a vegan, which I'm not calling myself a vegan, by the way. I'll give you more information on that later. And then, and she's just kind of going on. And she says, and you managed to do all of that. I said, I know you have other challenges that, come through, like you have a family and children and, daily aggravations that come with a chaotic, hectic home. But she said, but that's kind of what is in my mind, what I'm telling myself when I say that I couldn't possibly do this channeling thing. So we had a really good laugh. This was in a recent conversation, but with all of my clients that said something along these lines, we had a really good laugh because, first of all, if I have ever claimed to do like hour-long meditations daily, I was under the influence of some kind of substance, which I don't take, because no, that I do not do that. I don't meditate for an hour. That would be awesome, but I just don't do it. And then a 3-hour yoga? No, friends. I love yoga so much, and it is something that I know that I need in my life every day. And guess what? I don't do it every day. It waxes and wanes. When I'm feeling more, when I'm creating time for yoga, I have done it every day, and I feel amazing, and it raises all this, it gives me such good high vibes, and helps me align body, mind, spirit. It helps me stay really flexible in my thinking, because a flexible spine equals a flexible mind. And it does so many wonderful things with connecting us to spirit too, I find, with yoga. But I don't do it every day. And I sure as heck do not do 3 hours of it every day. So that was just hilarious. And then, so the food thing, I always say food is really important. The way that we source our bodies through nutrition has everything to do with how we feel. And being a clear channel, it also has everything to do with how you feel, because if you're tired and if you spent quite a bit of time self-loathing or being really unaccepting of yourself and unloving towards yourself, and you're eating crappy stuff that's just not giving you any kind of good energy, and your body's having to work really hard to process and digest that processed stuff that we know we're not supposed to be eating anyways, and you're not well hydrated, and you're not doing any type of the self-care that you need, then yes, I believe it's going to be very difficult for you to feel like a clear, open vessel to receive divine messages. It's going to make your channeling work much harder. However, I want to be clear about this. There is no perfection necessary when you embark on your journey to start to trust your inner voice of wisdom, to start to trust that you are being divinely guided and supported in every moment of every day. It might not feel like that, but it's true. We are. We distract ourselves, and we're overscheduled and busy and frenetic and frantic, and there's so much density to the energy around us that it's very easy to not hear or sense or feel what is there for us. But it's always there for you. And so I believe that our role is to do what we can, do what you can in any given day, in any given moment, to support yourself, to source yourself with loving energy, and your guides will meet you there. Okay? Your guides are your non-physical energetic support system that are, I believe, put in place by God to be helpers to God energy, to divine energy, to source energy, whatever you want to call it. And we can ask anything we want of our guides, and they're funny. They've got great senses of humor, because we tend to take ourselves way too seriously. And so we've got guides for humor, and we've got guides for all types of different purposes that we need in our journeys. And so just call on them. You don't have to have a name for them, and you don't have to label them, and you don't have to know which guides are for what. Just say, yo, I need some help here. And it doesn't matter if you haven't done your yoga. It doesn't matter if you haven't meditated. It doesn't matter if you aren't disciplined enough to commit to a regular everyday practice. I do recommend that, but I am not in any way saying that I do this with perfection. I don't. We just got to flow with our life, right? And we have to create priority for ourselves where and when we can. Because if we are not placing priority on our wellness, on our well-being, on the connection between body, mind, spirit, soul, then really, then we're lacking in the purpose and in the intention that we can have in our life, and the way that we could be of greater service to others. Though I always say service to self first, and then we have more to deliver in the service to others. What I really want to say in wrapping this up is something that one of my mentors, Sonia Choquette, said at one of the conferences that I went to. And she was really trying to encourage us to just show up. Show up to spirit. Show up to being guided. Show up to being a fallible, human with weaknesses and strengths and imperfections and all of that, and continue to show up anyways. And she would say, her phrase was, show up sloppy. Don't wait until you have everything lined up perfectly and you can check it out. I've done the yoga, I've done the meditation, I got exercise, I spent time in nature, I read spiritual readings, I listened to the podcast, I journaled, I ate beautifully, really, because if we wait for all of that, I wouldn't be channeling for anybody. If I insisted on doing all of those things all of the time, every day, I would not be allowing myself to do the work and meet the amazing people that I'm working with. Because it doesn't work that way. Your guides will meet you where you are. I promise you this. And they are not ever going to look for or expect perfection. One, because that doesn't exist. Remember that you are in a human experience. You are a soul having a human experience. And so there is no such thing as perfection, as getting it right all the time. But as long as you are making effort to check in with your heart, check in with your gut, see what it is that you need at any given moment, remove yourself from situations, that do not serve you, and remove yourself from relationships that do not serve you. Then you're constantly doing this I call it path clearing. You're clearing your path of the unnecessary obstacles that are in your way. And those obstacles come in the form of unhealthy relationships and unhealthy habits, right? It's always going to serve you to release habits that don't serve you well. And we all have them. We all have our vices. We all have our addictions. All of us do. It doesn't matter what it is. But be accepting and forgiving and open and loving with yourself. Ask for help when you need it from others in physical form, but really from your non-physical support system. And you will be met where you're at, and the miracles and the magic will come flowing your way. I can tell you this from personal experience every single day, regardless of how good or bad, right? Bad self-care. Bad my self-care has been, let's say, regardless of how absent or present it has been on any given day, I still am able to make the connection. And there is, I do what I can when I can, and I don't have the expectation of myself that I'm going to get it all done each and every day. And I do, I have, studied and practiced enough in this realm to know that even when I've had a bad day, I can still tune in and hear and receive guidance. I trust that it's going to be there, and this is 98% of it. Trust that you will be met with the being or beings that are able to serve you in the highest way when you need it. Trust that you will be You will be received and responded to, because you will be. I can promise you that. And the self-doubt that we have is really what gets in the way of making this connection. And the self-judgment, which really they're very linked, right? So don't judge yourself for not having the best of radical self-care, but do have your list of 25 things that bring you joy, some of which you can do on a moment's notice, other things that maybe you want to have a little bit more planning to do. But have your list and do something every day with it. And on the days that you don't do anything that's in service to your self-care, that's okay too. You can still channel, you can still receive loving guidance, you can still feel supported, even when your self-care is absent. Because it's really, as we're evolving, it's more looking at the gestalt of things, at the global picture, at wide angle lens, seeing more around us than what any one day or 1 week or 1 month or 1 year of your life could contain. So that's what I wanted to say. Keep going, everybody. Keep going with your channeling. Keep going with your meditations. Keep going with receiving divine loving guidance and trusting in what you receive. And you do not have to do anything perfectly. In fact, you are doing it perfectly right now. Just in the way, in who you are and how you carry yourself on the planet is already perfect in the eyes of divine loving energy. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.